Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. I hope you guys are doing well.
We always hope you guys are doing super well.
So, taking a quick look at the Schumann, because we know the world is supercharged at the moment with tons of energy and a lot of anger, as we know.
Oh, it is. It's pretty bad. You know, a lot of us empaths are feeling it.
Feeling it big time. So right now we see the power's at 74, although the graph itself looks relatively calm. We've seen some, really intense activity. And again, the Schumann Resonance is thought by many to be almost like the consciousness of the planet. And that is evolving, as is everything. So as we know, the sun has been in a very, very deep period of inactivity, a grand solar minimum. Now all of a sudden it's unleashing its strongest solar flare in 3 years. And there's definitely activity that makes us think it's starting to wake up. And don't forget, it was a couple years ago in December that the powers that be told us be ready for 6 months without the grid. Everybody should be ready to be self-sufficient for 6 months. Boy, have we had one thing after another in which self-sufficiency has proven to be something that is very, very desirable.
Oh, yeah. And it really comes in handy when you get to test things.
Yeah, which we are all being tested in so many different ways. So, yeah, the strongest solar flare since 2017. And we have non-tolucent clouds reach rare intensity over Sweden. Cosmic rays are up 18% in the last 5 years since 2015. And we've talked about that. And these cosmic rays, they're changing everything, including you and I.
Mm-hmm. They are. They're updating our DNA, and it's a great time to be alive.
It's a challenging time. There's those that would say, great time to be alive, and then give you just an earful of what's going on. And we know what's going on. I mean, we've known all this was in the books for a very, very long time. And now it's all manifesting right before our eyes. Tropical storm Amanda hits Guatemala and El Salvador, leaving at least 11 people dead. Extremely heavy rain right now falling across Central America. And in fact, this whole area, which is getting pounded, we could end up with a tropical depression or a tropical storm forming from all the remnants. So be mindful of that, both on the Pacific coast and in the Gulf of Mexico as well, as we're going to really keep an eye on the systems. We see landslides claim 10 lives in Ethiopia, number of flood-related people that have been, in many cases, they've lost their homes or forced out of their homes, evacuated, almost 500,000 in this case. So, this is a global situation we're seeing going on. It's, what's that old saying? If it rains, it pours. Oh, well, it certainly is pouring.
Yeah, it's like Murphy's Law. He's an optimist.
Yeah, it's just there's everything that you could think about. And, of course, people that watch prophecy, it's to them it would be, well, this is it. This is the signs of the times. And we've talked a lot about prophecy, from biblical to Nostradamus to Casey, the Hopi, and on and on. And, this is all, it has been spoken of for eons. Record rains cause widespread disruption, trigger hundreds of landslides. This is in China. And meanwhile, we're going to do a video update on what's going on with China as well, as the world, just creeps closer now to all-out war. And I would think that you would have to have your head in the sand not to see it. And, of course, we don't wish it, but at the same time, we can't just wish things away, so to speak. We have to work hard on manifesting positive outcomes by getting more and more people to work together.
Yes, working together is really, really important. At the same time, you need to be aware of what's in the road.
Yeah, what's in the road ahead. I mean, if you're not looking around you, you could be zooming along, come around the bend, and all of a sudden find this right in front of you. Yeah. You have to be aware of what's going on. Of course, we don't want to give negative energy more energy, but we have to be aware. And we see new undersea faults discovered near the earthquake epicenters in southern Puerto Rico. I mean, it's been swarming over there. And, now we find that there are previously unknown undersea faults. Well, it's a sign of the times. We have talked about expanding Earth theory, and the Earth is changing rapidly. The Earth is going through ascension. She is waking up. She is changing her consciousness. And also, as we know, mankind has been acting like a virus on the land. And, when a virus is in the body, the self-defense mechanisms of the body react, in order to protect the body. So should we be surprised? We're not living in harmony with the Earth. We're not living in harmony with each other. And we need all new direction on this planet, desperately. So the Chalupa supervolcano sits in Ecuador. Its next mega eruption will wipe Ecuador off the maps. Well, it's cheery. This is how strange sounds. Ecuador, beautiful area. They've gone through a lot lately with the plague upon the land, for sure. They were hit very hard, apparently, from this situation that's ongoing. And they do have a supervolcano there. And while we have most definitely been focused, I have been really focused on Long Valley caldera. And then we saw a lot of swarming at Yellowstone as well. There's yet another supervolcano down here. And it's only 80 kilometers southeast of Quito and 35 kilometers northeast of the city of Latacunga. And so, this is yet another to be aware of. These times are going to see all sorts of volcanic activity, which ultimately is going to lead to a massive cooling down of the planet. Although right now we are still, seeing a lot of just changes on both sides. As far as the record highs, the record lows, the extremes, we have a 6.0 quake that hit southern Peru at intermediate depth, and I really want to explore this area. Cusco, I have friends from Cusco. There are so many UFO sightings throughout this area. There are so many legends of inner Earth openings in this area, legends of beings living in the inner Earth and coming up and out. This is such a cool area. Peru has such an interesting history as well. And checking out what's going on to the west of Tanapa, where we've had this swarm, 291 quakes. So, yeah, it's still ongoing. It has decreased. The highest peak I had seen was in the high threes, like 370, 380 quakes in a 24-hour period. But there's a couple noticeable ones that are pretty strong. A 4.3, 29 kilometers southeast of Bodie, California, 8.1 kilometer depth. And we have, some quakes here right in the caldera, Long Valley caldera. This little mini swarm just to the east of Mono Lake right here, 17 of them. And of course, still all this going on over here. We have a couple over by Carson City. And when we look up to Idaho, we see we have still quake activity going on. There's 5 there, and one of them is a 4.0, so fairly significant there as well. We got to keep an eye on that. Right now, everything looks pretty quiet around Yellowstone, or is the USGS just simply omitting things, as they have a tendency to do. So we see ESA's solar orbiter to pass through the tail of Comet Atlas in a rare encounter. So the European Space Agency announced that its solar orbiter probe will have a rare encounter with Atlas passing through its tail today into June 1st. And this will be interesting, see if they get some interesting data. And this was just a chance encounter. It was not part of the plan, so curious. And I always, whenever I see a comet, I think of Nostradamus, when the comet shall run. And we have a bunch of them out there right now. There's like 8 or 9. Astronomers discover new type of space explosion with characteristics of supernova and gamma ray burst. All these new discoveries going on one after another after another. And, it just gets you thinking about the times that we're in.
It does. There's so many things going on. It's like escalation, escalation. It's not a matter of when things or if things are going to pop. It's a matter of when.
And so, we could, and this is another case where they're seeing something they haven't seen before. And, those that believe in a higher power think that this is perhaps part of some divine plan. And if we pay attention to the cycles, there's been obvious cataclysms here on a regular basis. We could go back and see that there's roughly a repeating 12,000-ish year cycle that happens. And, what's triggering it ultimately? Well, I don't think that the energies that are incoming are a bad thing. I actually think it's a good thing because, as we've said before, we are in and have been in a dark age. And, it's very apparent when you look at the actions of the leadership of the planet and just look at our history. So we are heading into what's going to be more of a golden age and a better time. And I think that the triggers for this, a lot of this is all this new energy that's incoming, which is going to change us and change everything. And, I think there might be many of us that will be happy in some ways when the sun does send its, CMEs directed towards us, and Elon Musk's satellites, all 30,000 of them, depending on how much time he has to get them up there, get toasted, along with all the military satellites and all the surveillance of, the powers that be that is watching our every move. I view that as perhaps that's divine intervention, saying, hey, time to get rid of this system. And it's time to get back to, being aware of nature, and having respect for nature, having respect for each other, and get rid of this top-down society where, so few control so many, and it's all about greed.
It is. It's about greed and entitlement, and some people, if it happens, may view it as a step backwards, but I think it would actually be a giant step forward.
Back to the future, perhaps, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So NASA's MAVEN spacecraft has created a map of electric currents around Mars 5 years after it entered into its orbit. And so, they're looking for clues of atmospheric loss. And, there are those that believe that what happened to Mars was nuclear war and was really, again, the situation of a, society gone wrong. And hopefully we won't end up in that same thing. And there are those on that line of thought that think that our galactic brothers and sisters won't allow us to destroy this planet, or perhaps won't allow dark forces that are controlling this planet destroy it either.
Yeah, we really, I do believe that's the case. I think that there are forces that are preventing dark forces from doing major damage.
And we see an orb-like alien spacecraft reported and recorded over U.S. command base, NORAD, right? And this is exactly what we're talking about, too. When we see these orbs, and we've seen a ton of them. Remember the Foo Fighters from World War II? They were watching, they were right alongside of the fighter pilots, zooming in and out and around them. There are beings with very, very advanced technology. And there are benevolent beings with advanced spiritual technology as well, watching everything that goes on here. And I've seen so many of these orbs, and we've caught some of those pictures ourselves.
Oh, yeah, we have some beautiful pictures after we did like mantras or something and then did a video. We get a bunch.
So this video was uploaded to YouTube by ET Database. And it does show a orb over NORAD military installation. And right now, with China apparently digging in for full-on battle with India, which would pit the number 3 against the number 4 biggest militaries, most powerful militaries on the planet, let's hope that there are higher powers that will not allow us to destroy everything.
I know, yeah. Well, just, I believe we're going to be okay, but it'll be an interesting ride.
So this is how to make bannock. It's a healthy and somewhat delicious survival food. And basically, it is weird, and it's a weird combination. I would never think to put rosemary with cherries. You know, I don't know. I mean, but I just wanted to share this with you guys because, you know, you could tweak this any way you want. And it's just basically a bread, so to speak, that will last a long time, not go bad, you know, right away. So it's a good survival food. And it has very few ingredients, as survival food should be something that's relatively simple, have a long shelf life, be pretty much non-perishable, be calorically and nutritionally dense, and obviously edible. So bannock was created in both Europe and North America. A similar version was made by Native Americans using corn. And so this is going to be traditional bannock, which has Scottish roots. And, you know, it's not too complicated. It's just 4 cups of flour, half a teaspoon salt, half a teaspoon baking soda, 1 tablespoon sugar, 1 3/4 cup dried fruits. You could put whatever you want, really. 1 teaspoon chopped rosemary, and 1.5 cups buttermilk or sour milk. And yeah, I've been making a lot of breads lately, experimenting and trying to get better at it as well. And breads, hopefully that would not kill somebody if you hit them in the head with it.
No, they don't kill anybody. They're good.
So guys, thank you so much. We have a bunch of new patrons that came through. And so we wanted to thank some of them.
We do. We want to say a special thanks to Jeff, Phil, John, and Peter, the most recent. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much for your support. You keep us going. And also all of you that have helped us on Ko-Fi. As always, my friends, stay safe and stay prepared out there. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.